It was a weekend of remarkable draws in the Eredivisie. 5 of the 9 games finished all square and featured some stunning comebacks. There was late drama right across the weekend, and nowhere more so than in the Klassiker between Ajax and Feyenoord. And some big results in a pair of relegation six-pointers at the other end of the table. We kick off in Breda, where the home side in 9th enjoyed a 5-point cushion over their opponents, who sat 4 points above the bottom 3. Even though Heracles were the ones in better form so far this year, unbeaten after 3 draws and 2 wins. NAC came into this on the back of a 3-2 loss at PSV, and with a raucous crowd behind them, they made a fast start. Leozawa crossing for Elias Omarsson. The Icelander heading in the opener on 3 minutes. A 5th goal in 6 games for a player who's on a hot streak at the moment, and has now scored in each of their last 4 home games. It was one that his coach, Karl Hofkens, certainly enjoyed. Their desire to build an early lead was evident, and they could easily have doubled the advantage just 3 minutes later, with Omarsson again involved. He may not have found his strike partner, Sidney van Hooijdonk, but the ball did fall kindly for Adam Cade, who'd also scored in their last home game. That had ended in a surprise victory over high-flying FC Twente, their only win so far this year. Heracles had tasted success in the Cup and also away at bottom side Almere City. They'd drawn the last 2, though, and could have drawn level here. Suf Podgoranu picking out Thomas Bruns, the scorer of their only goal last weekend against Utrecht. The left side was definitely where the danger was for the visitors, with Podgoranu and new loan signing Mats Rots from Twente linking up well. The young left-back scored on his debut in Almere and had another go here, his shot flicking off the frame of the goal. These were largely isolated incidents in the first half, though, with NAC the more aggressive and more direct. 2 fouls in the next move led to a free kick, the referee awarding it for the first one on Zawa rather than the second, which took down Van Hooijdonk. Dominic Januszek's delivery found his skipper Jon Vandenberg, but Fabian de Keyser reacted well to parry, allowing them to get to the break just the 1 goal behind. They might even have been level, because on the stroke of half-time they created another chance for Bruns down the right this time. But again, the experienced midfielder's aim was off from a really promising position. Later still, Podgoranu continued the search for his first Eredivisie goal. Finnish teenager Juha Talvitie picked him out. The fingertips of Daniel Bielica came to the host's rescue. Talvitie's on loan from Belgian side Lommel, who are part of Manchester City's City Football Group. He's already a full Finland international, as well as a regular for their under-21s. Although he's played in all but 3 of the games, the 19-year-old's only goal came in Week 3's draw with Willem II. Here, though, he found the net again with an impressive finish 8 minutes into the second half. Bielica this time frustratingly beaten at his near post. And the fire was there for Heracles in the second half. The game much more even. NAC were fortunate again to stay level when Max Ballard lost the ball cheaply, allowing a swift counter-attack. Led by sub Luka Kalenovic, it ended with Talvitie shooting goalwards, but this time the wrong option. Plenty of people were waiting to his left. The absence of head coach Owen van der Looy didn't seem to be affecting them. His illness meant assistant Henry Krausen was in charge. His final change was to bring on winger Brian Limbombe, who added pace to the visiting attack. But the necessary cutting edge always seemed to just evade them. Despite some decent late pressure, they could not force a second goal. No one was there to convert Limbombe's header. And an even better chance came the Belgians' way at the start of stoppage time, when Heracles again broke quickly after winning the ball back. He's yet to score this season and hasn't started a game since the end of August. The approach play often promises more than it can deliver, and a tame shot was the last of their chances. A 9th draw from 21 matches for Heracles, the most in the division. Neither side's position changed markedly as a result, with NAC Breda remaining level on points with Fortuna Sittard just above them. Heracles did move up a place, but results elsewhere mean they're still closer to the bottom three than they were at the start of the weekend. Utrecht come next, while NAC have a trip to RKC Waalwijk. Pektvalla used their game against Utrecht to draw attention to loneliness in old age and emphasise their ongoing support for the elderly. Each player came onto the pitch either with one of their grandparents or an elderly supporter. The home side's recent revival saw them come into this after back-to-back wins. They put 3 past PSV and scored 4 away at Fortuna Sittard. Utrecht were unbeaten in 2025, but had drawn their last 2 with AZ and Heracles, having won the 2 before that against Feyenoord and RKC. Jon Kathleen and Paxton Aronson combined for the first chance of the game. Well dealt with by keeper Mike Holtmeyer. Utrecht began in 3rd, but were coming under increasing pressure from AZ behind them. Pektvalla were 12th, having established a 6-point cushion between themselves and the bottom 3. Their increasing confidence was evident in the way they looked to control the game, picking the right moment to speed things up and winning a free kick, thanks to Davy Vondenberg. Jamiro Montero's delivery then found Dylan Venter, who was given far too much time to bring the ball down and finish. The first time in the game, but not the last, that Utrecht's coach Ron Jans would be frustrated with his defence, which had conceded more than their opponents. No offside, and like his team, Venter's on a roll. This was his 5th goal in 5 games, with more to come later. But their own defence is also not as watertight as their coach Ronnie Jansen would like it to be, and Utrecht were allowed their own moments in the first half. What was surprising was that they didn't take them. Aronson got to this ahead of Anthony Descott, who was actually in a better position. Tvolla's Filip Krastev was voted January's Eredivisie Player of the Month after 3 goals and an assist, and the Bulgarian added another here, clipping forward for Davy Vondenberg to score impressively. His touch to bring the ball down seems to have led to a new nickname, Davy Vondenbergkamp, and it left his coach purring about the level they reached in the first period. But he also realised that Utrecht would take more risks in the second half and try and play more on the front foot. Jans made only 1 change, bringing on Victor Jensen, but his side did just that, and Jensen was involved in the first goal, laying the ball off for Descott to fire into the top corner. An impressive second goal for the Belgian on just his 4th start of the season, and a first in 2 months. The first of 2 goals in 4 minutes. As the home side shot themselves in the foot, Holtmeyer playing his defenders into trouble, Oscar Fraulo taking advantage with his first goal for the club. A situation which Jans clearly found entertaining, less so the Tvolla goalkeeper. The Dane is in the 2nd season of a loan from Borussia Mönchengladbach, and like Descott, this was his first start since the 1st of December. Janssen was far less impressed with the way his side had lost a 2-0 lead. But they did regain the advantage with a little over 20 minutes to go when Utrecht themselves made a mistake at the back. This wasn't quite as glaring, but it proved just as costly. Matthijs Diden failing to keep control, Venter cutting through again. His recent record is up there with the best in the Eredivisie. The error was a difficult one for the Belgian to take on his second start. He was grateful that his side were able to come back again with a combination featuring two substitutes, Janssen and Adrian Blake, who'd arrived with 10 minutes to go. Jans frustrated that once again he'd had to tinker and adjust a lot in the second half to ensure that his side took at least a point. The English forward's good work wasn't rewarded here by Jensen, who got too little on his shot. But the pressure was building, and it paid off soon after when Soufiane El Karouani took on a long-range effort, nodded in by Nick Viergever. Another one which Hotmeyer didn't look back on fondly. He did well to reach the shot, but the parry didn't land where he'd wanted it. The last goal in an entertaining encounter. Janssen's men could have been sitting in 8th place right now had they held on. Instead, they remained 12th. And Arsed come next, a side that now had the chance to close the gap on Utrecht. Janssens men stayed 3rd. He was happy enough to pick up a point against one of his old sides, ahead of a visit to Heracles. There was a lively opening quarter of an hour in Heerenveen too, where the home side struck first. Levi Smans converting Marcus Linde's flick on via a deflection. Just a second goal for the 21-year-old who joined them in the summer from second-tier VVV. Part of Robin van Persie's rebuilding as he looked to change the team's style of play. And at home in particular, that has paid off for him. They began this a point behind their opponents in 10th, Fortuna having lost their first 3 of the year to slip away from the top 6. But they were soon back in this one. Ilya Sabawi's clumsy tackle failed Edouard Michou, and referee Aaron Blank pointed to the spot. The protest fell on deaf ears. So, up stepped the visitors' top scorer, Christopher Peterson. He extended his tally to 6 goals, one of his others having also come in their 3-0 win over Heerenveen in November. A precise finish from the Swedish winger, who was actually injured but agreed to play the first half as his side were already short of first-team players. They escaped conceding another when Ali Reza Yarnbach smacked this off the bar late in the half. Heerenveen had won the previous 3 meetings here, but there was nothing to separate them going into the break. Despite the hosts having had a lot more efforts, even though the only one on target was the one that went in. Their economy didn't improve in the opening period of the second half either, as captain Mats Korlet flicked one wide from another promising position. Fortuna coach Danny Baus has long said they're not ready for a run at the European playoffs, but their position in 8th would give them that despite their poor recent run. They do have players like Alan Alilovic with illustrious backgrounds, as well as Michou, who began with Paris Saint-Germain before a move to Adana Demirspor in Turkey, and where he moved to the Netherlands in November. Van Persie has been a champion of Heerenveen's academy players and introduced another just past the hour, 17-year-old Esa Rubus, who replacing Zabawi for a senior debut. And the teenager had a very quick impact, on visiting defender Ivo Pinto at least. A chance fell his way in the box shortly after that change, and one which Pinto unfortunately took full in the face. Commendably, he then got to his feet, but he didn't have to do anything due to this foul, and he soon went down again. Eventually, he was stretchered off and replaced by Josip Mitrovic. At the same time, Alilovic also departed, with Feyenoord loanee Ezekiel Boulouda coming on. Van Persie kept his changes to a minimum, having also brought on another teenage forward, Dimitris Rallis, at the same time as Hobus. Only Ajax had so far beaten them at home in the previous outing here, but they had lost 3 in a row, including last week's Derby of the North in Groningen. This stadium has seen more than its fair share of goals, though, and there were more on the way, just not yet, with Spans denied by keeper Luke Koopmans this time. There was nothing the man between the posts could do about Heerenveen's second goal, though, when Hobus made it a debut to remember with just 9 minutes to go, converting an enticing cross from Jahanbakhsh at the far post. Given the nature of the game, how open it was, even then it seemed like this might not be enough. So the hosts carried on searching for a third rather than shutting up shop and inviting pressure. And if their next chance from Jahanbakhsh had gone in, there would have been no need for the drama that then followed. Instead, it came down to good positioning from Koopmans, who was on the spot to deny the Iranian a goal that would have settled it. Instead, Fortuna equalised with just over 30 seconds of normal time to go. Rodrigo Huth heading in a corner, having now inherited the captain's armband from Pinto. However, the game was overshadowed by a strange situation that saw Fortuna play with 12 players for a short time after a substitution just prior to this, an incident which the International FA Board as well as the Dutch FA are now looking at. Even later chances for Jahanbakhsh and for Espen van Eyck came to nothing. So the visitors escaped with a point. A satisfactory conclusion for Baus and his battered squad, but not what Heerenveen were hoping for at all. Van Persie was seething afterwards, but he wasn't sure whether the club would follow up with any kind of appeal. They now face FC Twente. Fortuna will host Ajax. It was in Nijmegen last season that PSV's unbeaten start to an imperious season ended. After 26 matches, 23 of them wins. They lost here for the first and only time in the league. They arrived this time having already suffered 3 defeats, but still boasting a 4-point lead over Ajax, who had a game in hand. Koki Ogawa and Vito van Kooi were the first NEC players to rattle. And they carried on looking like the sharper team in the opening stages. Sonja Hansen, the former Ajax winger, prodding this narrowly wide after a scramble from the corner. The fact that PSV were missing injured Olivier Boscali at the back, as well as Ricardo Pepi and Noah Lang up front, didn't help them. Surprisingly, the first half passed without a goal. Ismail Saibari, the next to go in search of one for PSV, who had won 13 of the last 14 meetings. Luc de Jong had been rested from the start for their win over Liverpool in midweek, but Pepe's injury meant that he was back here and also had a sight of goal before the interval, thanks to Mauro Junior's break down the left. The best chance of the half actually came right at the end, and it fell to NEC's left-back, Calvin Verdonk. As a former Feyenoord player, he would have loved a first goal against PSV. But it was a great save from Walter Benitez, an effort that had a lot of the home bench on their feet and in expectant mood. From a goalless first half to a 6-goal thriller in the second. A run that was kicked off by De Jong early on. His knack of knowing where the ball will fall in the area once again served him well as Saibari and Yohan Bakayoko combined. And while NSA pointed to what they felt was a foul by the winger's attempted overhead kick, De Jong got on with the job, scoring against them for the second time this season. This was his 10th goal in the league. He's now reached double figures in 9 different Eredivisie seasons. A double change from the NSA coach, Roger Maya, then saw Hansen withdrawn, as well as Ogawa. Coming on were winger Bajau Ernal and their newest arrival, Brian Linson, another former Feyenoord player. And a useful striker to have up your sleeve. NSA then immediately tried to take their free kick too quickly, a situation referee Serdo Hüsebic wasn't going to stand for, no matter how much Maya protested to the 4th official. But it worked out well for them in any case, as the set piece led to an equaliser from Sami Waisa. Second goal in as many games here for the winger, after some unconvincing defending from the visitors. Fifth goal of the season in total. He's made the step up to the Eredivisie well after a summer move from Roda JC. PSV had lost their last 2 away from home in the league, but the way they responded suggested they'd be winning this one. Mauro Junior's cross just over 7 minutes later led to Saibari tucking the ball away. After a goal against Liverpool, this was his 6th in the Eredivisie, his best ever total in one league campaign already. And PSV were soon at it again with another impressive combination down the left-hand side. Perisic and Mauro Junior together made the space and the running. And this time Bakayoko got there just ahead of Saibari to claim the goal, seemingly putting the game to bed with 15 minutes to go. Philippe Sandler was the man overrunning the ball upfield and leaving NSA exposed on the break. However, with around 30 seconds of normal time remaining, it was the turn of a PSV centre-back to make a mistake. Ryan Flamingo not getting enough weight on this back pass. In-nipped substitute, Kento Shogai, to score his first Eredivisie goal. The 19-year-old hasn't started a league game since joining in the summer, but he has been a useful impact sub. And this meant PSV had conceded at least twice in 7 consecutive matches in all competitions, something that last happened in 1958. Still, the chances were there for the champions to avoid an upset and once more establish a 2-goal cushion. If only one of their subs could have had the same impact. The finish here from Kuhadrich far too casual. As a result, they paid the price with only 90 seconds of stoppage time remaining. A deep corner finding Linson unmarked, and he steered in his first goal for the club. One which will ensure he's remembered here for a long time to come. Nipping round the back of Rick Karstorp and sending the stadium home very happy. PSV had now conceded more goals this season than in the whole of the previous campaign. And for the first time in their history, they failed to win an Eredivisie game that they'd led by 2 goals in the 90th minute. Some things you just can't explain, said Boss afterwards, at a loss as to how his side had given the win away. To the other end of the table now, and a huge relegation 6-pointer between the bottom 2 in Almere, one which the hosts began a point behind their opponents. It was Ekese that made the better start and most of the running in the first 15 minutes. With the first chance nearly taken by Oscar Zawada, their Polish striker. Keeper Nordenbacher just stretched out enough to deny him. However, they weren't the first to score. That honour went to Almere City, and their French winger Junior Cadil, who couldn't keep that in play, but did benefit when their tenacity won the ball back quickly. A link-up with Charles Brim then opened the visitors up. The result, his first goal for the club. After showing a very cool head under pressure. Just his third top-flight goal too, the others coming over the course of 2 seasons with Famalicão in Portugal. That laid the groundwork for a much more dominant display from Almere City, who'd won only twice all season and lost 2-0 when these sides met in early November. Cornelius Hansen had been handed a first start in more than 2 months, and the Norwegian winger looked to make the most of it, crashing this one in, which keeper Juden Houwen did well to repel. Fortunate that he had a clear sight of it. Their defence is the leakiest in the league, but here they rode their luck. And Ekese looked particularly susceptible to fast breaks, not always helping themselves by losing the ball cheaply. Hansen engineered this counter-attack thanks to effective pressing, and Brim went close to his first goal since joining from Sparta Rotterdam. This was the Canadian international's third start since he joined at the beginning of January. One more than he managed in the entire first half of the season for his old club. Tom Hay also hasn't yet found the net since he joined in the summer from Heerenveen. But he's a great striker of a dead ball and came very close, like his teammate. However, just seconds after the restart, their grip on the game was ended by a red card for defender Joey Jacobs. Despite cover in the middle from Hamdi Akuyobi, the referee, Alad Lintout deemed him the last man and promptly sent him off for his foul on Rishan El Maghreb. A decision which did not get changed on review. He certainly had hold of his shirt for a while before the force was eventually enough to send the Ekese man down. And no amount of protest changed the referee's mind. It took the visitors a little while to work out the best way to take advantage of their extra man, but thanks to a stroke of luck, they equalised when Moa Hattarin's shot took a deflection, settling in the corner of the net. Akuyobi, the unfortunate defender. The goal was given to a Hattarin, though, who told his teammates at half-time they had to be braver and take more risks. From that point on, he was the one controlling things, pulling strings in midfield and conjuring up passes to unlock a dogged defensive setup. This brilliantly picked out Yasin Ukili, but Moroccan wasted his moment. It didn't matter too much in the end, as he was given another one just inside the final 20 minutes, and this time he did find the corner. Almere were once again a little clumsy and imprecise in their distribution. A situation exploited here by Juan Familia Castillo, who won the ball back, leading to a second goal for the midfielder. While the score remained that way until late on, the home side never really looked like being able to strike back. Ukili then added an assist to his total as Zavada made absolutely sure of the win with 5 minutes to go. Their third so far, and a second in as many games after just one in the opening 19 matches. For the captain, it was a 9th goal of the season, and 7 of those have come in the space of the last 9 games. He has certainly led the way by example. A Hatteren stoppage time free kick, then flew in off the unfortunate backer, capping a man of the match display. And a 14th defeat for the hosts, which left them 4 points behind their opponents and 10 off the relegation playoff place, which is really their only hope of survival. Henk Fraser's decision to throw a Hatteren a lifeline could yet be the thing that saves RKC. They now have some momentum, having taken 7 points from their last 3 games. NAC Breda come to Waalwijk at the weekend. Almere City now have 3 consecutive away games, beginning with a visit to Utrecht. These two began the weekend 7th and 6th, respectively, with only 3 points between them. It had been a great week for Twente, whose victory over Besiktas secured a place in the Europa League playoffs. Now came a chance for revenge, 18 days after the Eagles knocked them out of the Dutch Cup here. However, the opening stages didn't go to plan and they fell behind in the 10th minute when Evert Lintos swung in a cross which went all the way through. First goal in nearly a year for the midfielder, who had only ever scored 3 times in 3 years. And a misjudgment from keeper Lars Ernestorm. Twente had actually won the last 3 league meetings, scoring 3 times in each. However, they'd lost their last 3 away games at NAC Breda, AZ and here. They did boast the league's top scorer, Sem Stein, who had 5 goals in his last 5 outings. He was the one providing for Ricky van Wolfswinkel here, who forced a smart stop from keeper Eredivisie. The offside flag then went up in the aftermath as Twente had Michael Sadilek standing beyond the last defender when the shot came in. The home side had won their last 3 Eredivisie games and were going for 4 in a row for the first time since May 1995, but they needed de Busse's reactions to keep them in it. This time he repelled a header from Gustav Lagerbielke. The Swede popping up with a hugely important winning goal against Malmö in the Europa League last month, but he's yet to score in the Eredivisie. In the 52nd minute, the stadium in Deventer rose to pay tribute to Harold Zieleman, nicknamed Brol, the stewards at the club, who sadly passed away due to a heart attack, aged just 52. Still trailing with half an hour to go, Twente coach Josef Oosting introduced Nasi Unuvar and new signing Oliver Schuren. Bas Kuipers and Sefala Taif making way. And both were involved in the move which led to their equaliser. Unuvar losing the ball on the edge of the box, for Schuren helping win it back, and then Van Wolfswinkel nodding it down for Stein. He'd scored at least once in each of the last 4 meetings with the Eagles, and he continued his excellent run in this fixture. The first of a quick-fire double. This one took him to 16 goals from his 19 Eredivisie appearances, just 1 short of last season's total. Remarkably, a minute later, straight from the kick-off, the Eagles really should have restored their lead. A simple long ball found Victor Edvardsson, who couldn't quite find the necessary quality. Lagerbielke did his bit, as did Ernestorm, but it was a huge opportunity missed. And moments later, Twente went up the other end to score again. This time the assist came from Sadilek down the left. And Stein was on hand to make it 17 league goals and 20 in all competitions. The first time that he's ever hit that mark. He's shown he can score all kinds of goals, from tap-ins to long-range efforts. He signed a new contract in December, so won't be going anywhere for now. The question is, will Ronald Koeman now choose to include him in the Dutch squad for next month's internationals. The chances continued to arrive for them to see off the game. Two in particular stood out. Both were wasted. A wayward shot from Dan Rotz when he had the time to choose a number of options. And then a great ball from the winger, releasing right back Bart van Rooij, who delayed too long. And saw Debussy come out on top again. However, Twente were then undone late on by conceding an unnecessary penalty, one that wasn't spotted by the referee at first, despite the challenging question happening right in front of him. He turned to watch the flight of the ball as Univar tangled with Mats Dyle. But once Unestål had collected the ball, the VAR turned their attention to checking the rest of the penalty area. Twente's technical director, Arno Brugink, chose that moment to leave his seat in the director's box and head down, so he missed some of the drama as referee Dennis Higler came to get a closer look. Often these kind of things are let go, and Austin, their coach, wasn't happy about it. This time, the focus remained on Twente's substitute. And he didn't get away with it. Up stepped Dyle himself to take charge and earn the home side a share of the points. Another player that had also scored in the meeting last month. Another frustrating one for the visitors, who haven't won domestically since they put 6 past Willem II in the opening game of 2025. They got a Heerenveen at the weekend. Go Ahead Eagles have Lower League Noordwijk in the cup, and then a trip to Heracles. Next comes the spectacle of the biggest game in Dutch club football, the Klassieker between Ajax and Feyenoord. As ever, a number of subplots. Ayase Ueda started up front for Feyenoord, with Santiago Jimenez seemingly on his way to AC Milan. Jordan Henderson captained Ajax with rumours of a move to Monaco still swirling, and Brian Brobby was chosen ahead of Wout Weghorst, his mooted transfer to West Ham still up in the air. Feyenoord began 9 points behind their hosts in 4th, and it was a lightning start from Ajax, with Steven Berghuis looking to fire in the quickest goal of the season against his old side. He started here for just the 2nd time this year, keeper Timon Vellenreuter alert to the danger. Feyenoord were in need of a response after being thrashed 6-1 by Lille, but they'd little to show for their first half efforts. This run and a wayward shot from Igor Pasha, the only time they gave Ajax any worries in the opening 25 minutes. Brian Priske had made a few changes from midweek, but not wholesale ones, handing a debut to former Brighton winger Jakub Modder, as well as bringing in Hugo Bueno at left-back and Ueda. This move did at least seem to spark something in the visitors, as they looked to win here for the 3rd straight season. They grew into the game and had the better of things for a while. This incisive move is indicative of how Priske would like them to play, but it was something they struggled to do with regularity. It owed much to that driving run from Anthony Milambo, reminiscent of the captain Quinten Timber, who was on the bench. A credential shot from Anis Hadj Moussa. That move had been started by Modder, whose serious knee injury clouded his final 18 months in England and restricted his appearances. But he looked up for this, although it was his cross that ended up in them giving the ball away and inviting this Ajax break. One which, unfortunately for Feyenoord, ended in a goal. Berghuis and Jodel Hato soon took over, exchanging passes before Brobby tucked the ball away. And quickly saw the offside flag. Not against him, but Berghuis, who'd tried to hold his run. Soon, though, the VAR was showing it wasn't offside at all, and the goal would stand. So it was just a 2nd in the league this season for their number 9. Tight, but in the end, perfectly timed from Hato, who'd scored in Rotterdam when Ajax won 2-0 in October. Now, it was Ajax that took control for the remainder of the half and came close to a 2nd, hitting the crossbar through Bertrand Traoré. This surge from Brobby seemed to have been seen off by David Hansko, but Henderson motored forward in support, and the winger just beat Davy Klaassen to the ball. One of the heroes of their 2-1 win over Galatasaray, which should earn them a seeded playoff slot. They'll now face Union Saint-Gilloise. Ajax keeper Remco Pasveer was a little busier in the second half of his 300th Eredivisie appearance, keeping out a shot from Timber, who'd come off the bench for his first outing of the year after injury. But there'd be no clean sheet for the veteran, who was left unsighted when Timber had another go, following this scramble in the box. The ball pinballing around, and it was the former Ajax midfielder who pounced. He never managed a senior appearance while in Amsterdam, but he'd now been involved in 5 goals against his old club, more than against any other side. Missing multiple chances to clear, the home side paid the price, and the game seemed to swing Feyenoord's way again, until Henderson tracked back to rob the ball for his side, setting up a quick break that led to a penalty. Weghorst had also joined the action at the break. He was the man on the end of this move, caught by a lunging Hansko. Referee Danny Micheli first of all had a good look, and then decided it should be a spot kick, suggesting the crucial contact had been made just inside the box. Yellow for the defender, but replay showed the challenge had actually started outside the area, which is where the first contact happened, so a VAR check ensued, but that resulted in the outcome being confirmed. So with Berghaus off the field, Weghorst stepped up to take the responsibility. However, Wellenreuter guessed right and kept his side in it. The first penalty miss of the big striker's Ajax career, for the 13th time he's missed overall. Wasteful perhaps, but then so too were Feyenoord, who created better chances from open play than their opponents. Timber looked one of the best on the pitch, pinching the ball back to spark another opportunity. Hadj Musa failing to write himself into the history of this fixture. As did sub Christian Rasmussen for Ajax, who joined the action at the same time as new signing Yuri Rahir, who made his second debut. The young Dane hasn't yet scored for the club, but could have done so on the biggest stage, with 2 chances in the closing stages. That, the first, and the second came along straight through the middle in no-nonsense fashion after a simple flick-on. Again, though, not the finish of a confident goal scorer. So it was left to Kenneth Taylor to show how it should be done, with a dramatic winner from a perfectly timed pass. Anton Gay out on the right-hand side, finding his range with just the right weight. The midfielder's run putting him on the spot to decide what he called the biggest game of their season. A huge goal to give them real momentum in the title race, and put them 12 points above their opponents. The gap to Utrecht in third is now 6 points with that game in hand. They have a week off before travelling to Fortuna Sittard. For Feyenoord, 1 point from their last 4 league games is their worst run at this stage since 2016. A huge cup game comes next for them at PSV before a Rotterdam derby home to Sparta. Sparta were hoping to back up last week's surprise win at RZ with a first home success under Maurice Stein. The coach handed a debut to new loan signing from Ajax, Christian Linssen, who'd replaced the departed Arne Verschuren, and the Icelander had their first effort. Groningen were the opponents for Stein's first game back at the helm, inflicting a 1-0 defeat on them in early November. Linssen on his own could have exacted revenge, but those the best moments of a lacklustre first half. Winger Mitchell van Bergen was another debutant, with Camille Nelly in the process of signing for Millwall. But it was Groningen who threatened to upset things in the second half when a mistake saw Brynjolfur Willemsen run on to win a penalty. There didn't seem to be much contact from Marvin Young, but it was clear enough for referee Alex Boss. So up came the experienced Leandro Bacuna, only for Nicolai to guess right and make himself the hero. For a side sitting 4 points above Sparta, who occupied the relegation playoff place, that could be a big miss in the context of their season. Particularly as Sparta struck at the other end just before the hour, with their second corner in quick succession. Bakuna repelled the first one, but he couldn't beat Tobias Lauritsen to the ball twice in a row. And the Norwegian striker was soon celebrating a first goal in 10 weeks. That gave them the chance of a first home win this season. Groningen didn't lie down though, and they might have snatched a point through substitute Tom van Bergen, whose effort went over via the top of the bar. But Sparta would not be denied and closed out the win to extend their unbeaten run to 4 matches. It took Stein a while to have an impact, but gradually it seems his methods are starting to work. They close to within a point of their opponents and safety ahead of the meeting with Fun. This week's final game comes from Tilburg, where AZ travelled to meet Willem II, a side that had beaten them in Alkmaar back in November. Troy Parrott was quickly into his stride, forcing a save from Thomas Didion Erdl after 5 minutes. The first of many efforts, which then struck the woodwork. Jaden Adai had been heavily involved in that one, and the 19-year-old winger looked to be making the most of his second start. The first in 4 months. He was the next to hit the frame of the goal just 2 minutes later. No sign of tiredness after a taxing 4-3 loss away in Hungary to Ferencváros just 3 days previously. They still made it into the Europa League playoffs despite that, where they'll face Galatasaray for the second time this season. A win here for the visitors would see them leapfrog final 2 and move into 4th, while the home side was 13th with the chance to move up to 9th. It took them 24 minutes to mount a response when they successfully got out of a tight position to break. Sondra was back after injury and starting for the first time in 2025. He found his progress unceremoniously ended by Michael Lado, earning a free kick. But before that could be taken, the officials went back to check on this challenge at the other end by Amar Fata, one which had seen AZ lose the ball. And it was soon clear the Swedish winger would be conceding a penalty. Mark Naxterhal, the referee, confirmed it quickly enough. And so the focus switched to the other end of the pitch. Parrott took on the job and his run-up had the desired effect. The keeper committing himself early. Goal number 11 in the league for the Irishman and 14 overall. He's now the joint second top scorer, but 6 behind Sem Stein, who leads the way. AZ had won just one of their last 6 games against promoted clubs, but they would have had this sewn up if they'd not hit the woodwork 3 times before the break. Adai, their player of the match so far. This was helped on its way by the fingertips of the busy home goalkeeper. Definitely a statement performance from a player keen to play more, but his only senior goal so far came in December's cup win against Groningen. They did find a second when Willem II played themselves into trouble needlessly. AZ's pressing having the desired effect. Lado crossing for Sven Meinens, who added to his midweek double. And it was hard to see the hosts coming back from here, particularly given they'd won only 2 of their last 9 games and gone down 2-0 to the previous bottom side RKC the week before this. However, the half-time introduction of striker Kian Vassen did see them improve. AZ hadn't actually won in the Eredivisie this year, although they had beaten Ajax in the Cup and Roma in the Europa League, as well as drawing with PSV. They finally had some sustained defending to do, and Fatah improved as a result of the extra support up front, partly as a result of his good work and some prompting from Sondra. Their first effort on goal arrived for Vassen, fielded by Jeroen Zoet, AZ's backup keeper, who saw no need to get aggressive with Jeremy Bokila. The frame of the goal was hit for the 4th time by AZ's left-back David Moller-Wolf, who took on the ball from Ernest Borku and then went off in search of his first goal this season. It wasn't to be for the Norwegian international. with Willem II preparing to make a couple of changes, there was a yellow card for Bokila after he tangled with Seya Maikuma. His coach, Peter Maas, and the rest of the home bench didn't seem to agree, but this one would prove costly later on. Seconds later, he nearly set up a nervy finish, throwing himself at a teasing cross which came in from substitute Emilio Queja. The veteran got 11 goals in their promotion campaign last season. He only has 3 so far. And he rather recklessly got himself sent off by hunting down the ball player by player and seemingly catching Mulavov, who remained down, although there wasn't any real contact from the player's boot. It was robust for sure, but not malicious. However, the referee disagreed and found it merited a second yellow card. So they finished the game with 10 men, and he'll be suspended for this weekend's visit to PSV. The threat of a third goal in the final moments of stoppage time didn't materialise, but Pokru will feel that he should have made his last chance count after a good run from Denso Calcius. He was just too close to the keeper to steer it either side. The game, though, was already won, and AZ moved up to 4th. They're a point ahead of Feyenoord and 5 behind Utrecht. Willem II are now only 3 points above the bottom 3. So, 5 draws in this week's 9 games. Ajax and Sparta won at home, while AZ and RKC did so away. A crucial victory at the bottom for RKC, which would have brought them to within 3 points of the relegation playoff place had Sparta not also recorded a first home victory. PSV's loss of points could yet prove costly. Despite there being 13 games to go, the gap at the top is now 2, with Ajax having a game in hand. AZ the only other side in the top half to win. We'll be back next week. Until then, from me, Jonathan Beck, it's goodbye.